Hey everybody, I had promised Tammy that I would pop on and kind of share a little bit of information on how to do some substitutions, healthy eating, stuff like that, because so many of us end up having things like hey Lydia, so many of us have to end up worrying about dietary things. And sometimes it feels a little daunting. You're not sure what you need to do. You're not sure what food you can eat, what food you can't eat. Sometimes you're scared to eat certain things and don't know how to substitute. And sometimes you just think that healthier food means that it's bland, boring, and that is not the case. So let me tell you a little bit of where I'm speaking from. I am kind of nerdy with this stuff. I am by no means an expert. But I had gained weight in my younger years between having kids and stuff, and then lost weight, lost almost 100 pounds, and then went to school for dietetics, learned a lot about how nutrition affects the body, stuff like that. But I've been doing Pampered Chef for 16 years now. So during my original weight loss and stuff, I started tweaking recipes and finding ways, and even during my degree, I was able to find ways to substitute slightly healthier versions into the food and still have good flavor. Because so often those two things are just not together. And then if you add a picky eater on top of it, where you don't like a lot of fruits and vegetables, it can be really hard to stay healthy. And if you're nerdy like me and you read more and more of the research, you're going to see that like our gut health and our bodies overall, those having diets with a lot more plant-based and a lot of those things eliminated actually help in getting our guts balanced. Our guts create a lot of issues for us, but they can also help us a lot too. So anyways, now I love to bake, okay? This past year, I've been kind of experienced with it, playing around with it, but this past year, before I was diagnosed with my cancer, wheat has been affecting my body, partially because I had inflammation in my body that was causing my gut to be imbalanced, and I had too much yeast, and what happens is it penetrates the gut walls, okay, and then creates issues with certain foods, okay. Never mind, a lot of our grains have sometimes trace of pesticides. It's insane. But anyway, so I can't do wheat anymore. The rest of my family can, but most of the time they just eat what I do. So, so many people, they hear, you're gluten-free. I can't eat anything. I can't eat. Okay, well, there's a lot of grains that are gluten-free, okay? First off, oatmeal is actually gluten-free. If you actually have celiacs and have to worry about cross-contamination, get a certified gluten-free one, because then that means they're not processed with other things that would have gluten in them. So oats are a great thing. You can use oat flour for baking. Rice is gluten-free. Again, also, watch with seasoning blends, though, because sometimes they'll add gluten into that, and then you're right. If it's a flavored rice, it may not be gluten-free. Regular rice, okay? Some of the stuff in rice-a-roni is not. Orzo is a pasta. It is not gluten-free. Quinoa is gluten-free. I am live. So you have those things. Those are super easy peasy to be able to use if you want something that's kind of grainy. They also have rice flour. Now, when you're baking, there are baking blends that you can use. I don't always use the baking blends. They're great for some things, not for everything. I actually love to bake with coconut flour. It's higher in fiber, but it's also very absorbent. So you actually use very little of it, and it changes the texture some. So I'll use coconut flour and almond flour. So if you have a nut allergy, you don't use almond flour, okay? But chickpea flour, which is also garbanzo beans, that's a great flour that you can use. They're not true flours. If you're doing actual autoimmune protocol, paleo, stuff like that, you would actually use those type of things as your grains, even though they're grain-free, okay? There are a lot of recipes on Pinterest. I just saw on the news tonight, there's this fun app for getting meals and recipes that I'm going to check out. But so doing that is an easy thing. Now, if you want pasta, don't go with the regular gluten-free crap. It falls apart. It doesn't taste great. My husband's a type 1 diabetic, and it spikes his blood sugar like crazy, okay? So go with, if you're really wanting pasta, and I love this, the Banza brand I love, but chickpea pasta. So it's a bean pasta. So you're going to have fiber and protein along with those carbs to help you feel fuller longer. It's going to help fuel your gut and that bacteria in your gut. And it's easy peasy. I love that substitution. Now, the Banza pasta is not cheap and it does not come in a big box, but it is way better for you. It's way better for your overall blood sugar. It's way better for pretty much everybody in general. If you don't have to go gluten-free and want that substitution, you can do the protein pasta, okay? Okay, so we got the pastas. Seasonings, watch seasonings. Sometimes they do have gluten added into them. All of our seasonings have no gluten, so they have no fillers. Some ice creams will have gluten in them. Watch that. But it's all about reading the panel. Things like wheat, dairy, soy, they have to label them in clear layman's terms so they're not hiding it anywhere. So watch that. The Banza pasta I can get at, I think Walmart does carry it now. I think Target carries it. Winn-Dixie does for a lot. But you can also order it online from Banza themselves, and it's like $3 something a box. So Thrive Market also does. Amazon probably is a little more expensive. You might be able to find a deal on it. But so that's where I've done and gotten it from. Aldi has a different kind, I think, a little bit of it. I was trying to run through and think about some of the other ones. But there are other brands out there that are, that are good, but they're not necessarily great. So, okay, so we've got that. Now, I love to do a meat in 3 type thing where I'll have several different vegetables. At least one of them is a starchy one, potatoes, whatever. Potatoes are not the enemy. Frying your foods is not great for you. Processing meat is not great for you. And that's what Tammy's like. She says she has to watch that. And that is just fine. So I like to do it simple, and I change it up with seasonings, or I'll make it a stir fry. I love to do stir fry. If you don't love vegetables, stir fry, because you're using a sauce and you're actually cutting down on the vegetable flavor, right? So then you can add vegetables in and enhance that way and do a stir fry. Same with, you can even do a gluten-free pasta, stuff like that. So that's a simple little trick that you can do. My kids, that's part of the reason why they eat vegetables now, is because we stir fry it a lot, because you're using very little oil. Watch what kind of sauce you use. Soy sauce, by the way, is not gluten-free. So make sure you get a gluten-free one or do coconut aminos. Okay, so we got that. When you're baking, I love to do cake with applesauce. Cookies do not substitute with, because if you want a true cookie flavor, you need to just do different substitutions, okay? But like I do breads, donuts, all other stuff, and I do different fruits and vegetables. So like I did a banana chocolate donut, very little added sugar. I used almond flour and coconut flour, and then used banana. It was delicious. It was fudgy. It was amazing. I do red velvet brownies with beets and red velvet cupcakes, and they are delicious. They're moist. You do not taste the beet, but yet you're getting all the benefits of the beet, okay? Things with zucchini, applesauce, minimal stuff like that. So it's good to be able to kind of be sneaky. Sometimes even for my pasta sauce, I'll use butternut squash or a little bit of pumpkin with the tomato, and it cuts out on some of the acidity and it makes it a smoother taste. So I love to hide it that way. I have some friends that do Alfredo sauce using some cauliflower. It's not straight. So you can do that. But you guys, there are so many different like little ways that you can just tweak a recipe to make it a little bit better. Unless for a lot of us, it's not about totally cutting everything out. If you have an allergy or something that really triggers you and it causes you inflammation, don't eat it, okay? But for most of us, we should be able to enjoy foods a little bit at a time. You know, if you want a sweet treat, make yourself a sweet treat. But a lot of times what I like to do is make it a little healthier to make it a little bit easier to enjoy, okay? So, but those are fun little tips and tricks, you know, just reduce a little bit of sugar or do half sugar, half Truvia, stuff like that, different flours, whole grains instead if you can do wheat, the vegetable puree, stuff like that. But hopefully you find this helpful because I know so many of you guys are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what you can do. Well, truthfully, with gluten-free and with dairy-free and all that type of stuff, it's actually pretty easy. I have a friend who's gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, and it's pretty easy for me to cook things for her because, I mean, you're just eliminating milk, and milk's pretty easy to substitute. Same with the gluten-type stuff, especially with all these new flours and recipes that everybody are testing. But to keep it simple, some meat and some veggies, easy peasy, guys. I hope this helped. I am going to go and sit and relax and get ready to watch the halftime show here in a little bit. And be sure to pop back in and watch for me to go live sometime tomorrow. And hopefully you guys can catch up on the post and ask any questions and get involved. We'll see you guys all here soon. Thanks. Bye.